Viewers and subscribers, welcome back to Beat in the Press podcast. I am your host, Rafa. Now, coming up in this evening's podcast, we're going to be looking ahead, previewing the big EPL matches coming up on the weekend. Man City plays host to Chelsea, and Fulham takes on the mighty Manchester United. Now, joining me this evening to preview these matches and to talk some EPL football, we have returning to the podcast, Sir Cole.
Good evening. Always a pleasure.
We also have returning to the podcast, Christoph.
Good to be back, viewers.
Yes, indeed, gents. Big matches midweek. Champions League was in action. And of course, for Manchester United, your team circle, they were in action over there in the Europa League, or was it the Europa Conference League?
Yes, one of the two.
Indeed. Arsenal was in action, Liverpool also, and both teams running away big winners. Manchester United also picking up a late goal to come away winners over Rangers over there in the lesser European competition, I would say, either the Europa League or the Europa Conference League. But picking up a victory there, a win that should boost confidence going into the weekend circle. Talk to us about that game and looking ahead, Fulham versus United. What says you?
I really didn't see the game this evening. I just saw the score, and by checking the time of the goal, I see that it was a very late winner. Minute 90 plus at home. Well, give thanks is a win. So we need to appreciate it when they do come, because they really aren't very frequent these days. So looking forward to playing Fulham on the weekend, and hope we can get a similar result.
Yes, definitely. So Fulham versus United, Sir Cole. Fulham at home, United traveling. Can Amarin use this win to boost the team to go out and get the 3 points versus Fulham? That is the big question for the weekend. Or will Manchester United continue in their downward spiral?
Well, we really never know, because we have seen them put up some big performances against the bigger teams. But yes, still, when they play the teams that they should beat, I just say that, is even, then we really don't do as we should. So theoretically, yes, you would hope that it has a positive effect, but realistically, comes on the, it may turn out differently.
What says you though, Christoph?
Manchester United.
You're calling it for United.
Um, Not necessarily. With United, we know things can go either way at the moment. Very hard to call those games. Um, you know, Maybe they'll take some momentum into the game after winning, but also, it's very likely that they'll just go and not perform on the day. So, hard to tell. I think I'd probably sit on the fence, but I think I'd go with like a
But
2-2 draw
that
for this one,
that's
2-2 draw.
That's why we are here, Christoph. We're here to call it for the viewers and subscribers. The tough decisions we have to make it on the podcast.
I
So you're
think
saying you're calling a draw then?
a 2-2 draw, yes.
2-2 draw. What says you, Sir Cole? How are you calling this one? Are you
Well, yeah,
going draw as well?
a draw is a call as well. This game we played at Fulham,
That's right.
Yes.
uh,
Craven Cottage.
2-1 Fulham.
No confidence in United, Sir Cole. What's
No,
going on? I mean, new
there's
coach.
confidence. There's confidence in United, but there's more confidence in Fulham.
So you're saying Fulham should get the better of this United outfit. 2 goals to 1.
Well, Fulham are where they are in the table for a reason, not because they are playing poorly. So a few years ago, the table would be reversed, where Man U is a team up where Fulham is, and then Fulham is somewhere down in the lower half. So there's no reason why a top half team playing at home shouldn't expect to get 3 points against a lower half team playing away.
Well, you do make a solid point there. I just thought you would have been a bit more enthused about this United team with on the back of a win over Rangers, and of course, new coach bringing across his philosophy
No, but as I
and
said,
trying to get some results. Pretty much climb your way out of that danger zone.
yeah, but as I said, we have seen this before, where they play well against the bigger teams and against the second tier teams we don't do as well. So I'm thinking that probably will follow this pattern and look forward to another big performance again when we play another big team.
I see. That seemed to be systematic of not only this Amarin team, but former coach as well, Ten Hag. That seemed to have been the case as well, where
Probably
United tend to rise to the occasion, as you say, versus the so-called big teams, big name, when the
probably
spotlight is shining brightest.
probably sometimes they are scared into avoiding embarrassment. So we actually come up and play a very good game. But is that something
Ah,
we can really sustain throughout an extended period?
but playing devil's advocate though, Christoph, what could Manchester United do to actually get a win versus this Fulham team? What is it they need to do? I mean, it's not as if they're playing dirt poor. I mean, they are creating, maybe the finishing is lacking, but
They need
they're
to really just turn up on the day and put in a shift, and that has not always been the case. For the last several seasons, they're not putting in the work, not putting in the shift. But more recently under Amarin, we know that they do create chances, but they're really not finishing them, and as well as the defense just being so poor at times, and when you don't have a reliable goalkeeper to depend on. A number of factors that adding up for them not getting the results. Um, I've said it, the biggest for me, I think they need to, in this window, sign a goalkeeper and potentially they could be able to salvage the rest of the season and make it into the top half of the table. But at the moment, it's a bottom half finish, in my opinion. What they do need to get first thing on the to-do list is to sign a keeper. Before even sending anybody or shipping out
well,
anybody, sign
I'm
a
not even
keeper.
sure. I have not heard any rumblings as it relates to goalkeepers, to be honest, Christoph. So I'm
I
not
haven't
sure if
heard
that's
any.
first priority.
It could be a case where Man United are waiting until the summer for the rebuild with Amarin, which is fair. But like I said, if they want to salvage and get anything out of the season, top half finish, Europa League, something, they need to get themselves a goalkeeper first of all before
So
anything else.
that push for the top half starts versus Fulham then.
In my opinion, that it should have started already, but it would be a good opportunity to start now and start getting those points. But again,
Indeed.
definitely a goalkeeper. And if not a goalkeeper, there's some shuffling or reshuffling of how United are defending needs to be done because it doesn't matter really if you're scoring up front if you're going to let in more than you're converting.
Yeah, and that seemed to have been the case in the last couple of matches for United, where they are scoring, but seem to be rather leaky at the back there, Sir Cole. But should be an interesting game come Sunday. For me, I'm gonna call it a Fulham win as well, Sir Cole. To be honest, I think Fulham has really been playing some good football this season, and at home. I'm sure they'll like to take this game to United. And of course, United coming off their exploits in Europe, they would have played Thursday. That game is scheduled for Sunday. So possibly a bit of fatigue, probably. Fulham would have been rested, preparing for this game all week. So they should come all guns blazing for this Manchester United team. So for me, I'm going to call it 3 goals to 1 for Fulham. 3 goals to 1 for Fulham is my call for that game. But we move to the other side of the Manchester divide circle. Man City versus Chelsea. That seemed to be the big game on the weekend. That one should have all the attention. Talk to us about that game. Of course, Man City coming off a defeat versus PSG in the Champions League. And currently they are on the outside looking in as it relates to qualification for the next round. Talk to us about that game. What can we expect from this Man City team?
They probably are anticipating an exit from the Champions League to probably salvage a top four finish in the league. I really don't think they have it on their mind to actually win the Champions League this year with this kind of performance. Certainly, to actually win it, you will figure that you're in the top, top five, top six teams going into the next round. I would think, but versus Chelsea, I see Chelsea scoring, but that's for sure. Chelsea attack has been, finding some goals, especially if Cole Palmer turns up against his former team. Uh, as for whether, well, Chelsea themselves have been letting in some rather calamitous goals as well. Kind of difficult to call. But
The
I,
circle,
I,
these
I
games are always difficult. That's why
well,
we call them.
it's
That's
difficult to call.
these are the games we take on the podcast circle, not the gimmies, not the games you can close your eye and give a score. It's the tight games, those games which may be decided on small margins. These are the games we bring to the fore, and this game should be no different. This is one of those
Thing is,
games.
Man City found 6 goals versus Ipswich. 6 goals at this level is a lot. And should the attack have the kind of game that it had against Ipswich, I probably will see Man City coming out with a win in this one.
Mm. So you're saying you're calling it for Man City to beat Chelsea then?
I'm calling it for Man City over Chelsea.
What says you, Christoph? What's your take on this game?
I kind of disagree. I don't think Manchester City will win. I don't think they should win. I think Chelsea have it in them to win this game. Despite their more recent spotty form, watching that Man City versus PSG games. I realize that they have not turned the corner. They've just been getting a number of results that are probably more certain wins than some of the other games that some of the 9 or
No,
11 games
poorer
that they
teams. They've
dropped.
been playing poorer teams
Right,
then.
they've been playing poor teams. So, scoring six against Ipswich, um, for Man City, had they lost, it would be very damning. To scoring six, they're building up some confidence, picking up, building up a head of steam, so on. But when I watch them against PSG, what I realized, and probably what n never occurred to me at the time, even though it was probably on my mind, is that these players have aged themselves out of playing the 90 minutes. A lot of these players, the Kevin De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, they don't have it in them anymore.
So you're
Um,
saying that Man City midfield has lost its leg? That's what you're
that
saying?
is it. That is what I saw in that PSG game. If
Mm.
Chelsea have the youth in their team, and if they use that youth high energy levels, I think they overwhelm Man City and win. Kevin De Bruyne cannot play 90 minutes anymore. Something that we've discussed that managers are not doing, making those subs at halftime. I think if Pep Guardiola said to his more senior players, go all out 45 minutes and then I'm going to sub you, um,
50,
I,
60 minutes.
right, I think that would work for Man City right now. But if he's going to be playing those Bernardo Silvas, those Kevin De Bruyne, we know Kyle Walker is gone. I think they lose. They don't look like they have the legs. They don't have the energy levels. They don't have the intensity anymore.
I would more so agree with you on that, Christoph, in all honesty. There is just something missing from this City team. And we've seen enough games for us to start believing that. Initially when they went through this bad spell, I thought it was just a little blip on the radar. But now it has become the norm, I would say. I mean, we're talking about 11, 12, 13 games of consistently poor results, draws, losses, uh, and it's not even the losses, it's the manner of the losses. I mean, take this PSG game, for example. They were leading 2-0 and PSG stormed back to win that game 3-2. So sometimes it's even the manner of the defeat, and you can just see the confidence draining from this team. It's almost as if even if they're leading, that belief is missing that they'll win the game. And Chelsea, as you say, could very well take full advantage of this. So I'm leaning more towards a Chelsea result, in all honesty. Especially losing midweek versus PSG. I think that confidence in the team is lacking in that Man City team. Ironically, however, we have seen now that Pep have made a few new signings, Sir Cole. Will these signings get a run out versus Chelsea?
Uh, Unlikely. A coach would really buy players and put in right away. Um, if they do play, it probably will be towards the end, and quite likely if they're leading as well, but not really to create that impact. I think. But just to comment a bit on Man City and my take on them right now, I would only say they have lost the legs because the previous league would have ended just in May. I won't think they would have lost the legs overnight. What I think that they're not lacking is motivation. They've really now done it all. What else is left for them to do? They have gone four straight. They have won the treble. I'm not sure what else there really is really there to gain. So
Oh,
they are
so
really
that
now,
spark is missing then, Sir Cole, that
yeah,
drive,
that's what I think.
that ambition.
They have really done it all. What would they now accomplish unless they want to do it all twice?
So
But
it's like it's one of those intangibles then, Sir Cole. You can't measure it,
no, man,
but
you can't measure it. You can measure it, sir. Everything can be measured. With the right scale, it can be measured. Yes, man.
ah.
Yeah. Yes, it can.
Well, I'm not sure you can measure drive and motivation,
Yeah,
Circle,
man.
when you're on the field of play.
Psychologists will tell you. Psychologists will tell you that there are tests that measure these things, sir. Everything
Mm. Oh, so
that you can
probably
measure
Man City
can
need
be
to
measured.
run one of these tests in the squad. But I think these new signings that Pep is making should act as a catalyst for this team. I mean, as Christoph mentioned, those players are aging out of the team, and this team probably need a rebuild, a refresh. And we see Manouche, a big striker over there in Germany, Egyptian in nature. He is one of the top signings thus far in the transfer window, and he should act as a partner slash understudy for Haaland. And this may be part of what you're talking about, Sir Cole. Possibly Haaland will now feel a little pressure to perform in that he can now be benched. At the start of the season, there was really no other
No,
alternative up front.
I think on the contrary, Halal will feel no pressure at all to perform, having now locked up his 9.5 year contract. So basically, his contract is now secure until retirement, whether he plays well or not. So I don't see that as any pressure on him. He's good. The pressure is on the other to perform and be at a level where he is accepted as a good replacement for Haaland, should Haaland not be available.
Mm. Well, I guess that could work both ways, as you say. That's one way to look at it. In that, I mean, this was a constant suggestion or narrative when Chelsea were locking these players down to 9, 7 year, 8 year contracts. I mean, the likes of a Cole Palmer is a typical example, Sir Cole. He is on a 8 year contract. And we can see that over the last 2 seasons for Chelsea, he is their go-to guy. He is their talisman. He is playing out of his skin currently. And we can see that last season was no fluke based on the performance this season. So again, it could work both ways, it seems.
Yeah,
Um,
that's always a possibility.
I think we I can't really speak to Haaland. I get what Sir Cole is saying that he's no longer under any pressure, but for Cole Palmer, last season was really his debut season in football. And your contract or not, when you listen to Cole Palmer in interviews and so on, it's clear that he just wants to play football. So he's just there to play football. We don't know what the
Well,
motivations of a
well,
Erling Haaland
yeah,
is.
when you listen to Haaland, it's the same thing, Christoph. He is just there to play football, to break record, to score goals. That's his
Right.
motivation, to leave his mark on the EPL. And to be honest, I believe Sir Cole, Haaland at the end of his career, if he was to spend this length of his contract at Man City, he'll be the EPL leading goal scorer, no doubt, breaking that Shearer record easily.
Well,
Quite likely.
potentially, but we don't know if Haaland will be one of those players that shine bright early in the career only to fade
Well, lots of
catastrophically.
variables, injuries.
Fernando Torres, prime example. Neymar,
Well, I mean,
A well-known
the
pundit,
Shevchenko, Crespo.
a well-known pundit had Greenwood taking that record as well a few years ago.
well, again, as you say, a number of variables. I mean,
The
Greenwood is now
variables.
over there leading in the French league. He's the top scorer over there in the French league circle. Imagine if he was still at United. I mean, some of these chances, the likes of a Rashford and Garnacho are missing. I mean, charges were dropped versus Greenwood. We have even seen him changing allegiance. He is now representing Jamaica at the international level circle. I mean, no charges have been brought. He is not a convicted criminal. All that occurred was he was accused and all charges have been dismissed.
Uh,
Yet
it,
we see
it,
the
the,
fallout.
the nature of the accusation is that regardless of if he is, the charges were dropped or whatever, people have already made their opinions in the court
Court of public
of public
opinion.
opinion, right? Even recently, I was,
Sad to say, sad to say.
scrolling through a forum and seeing somebody talking about Greenwood. And I'm just like, he was never proven guilty, and he is in a relationship with the accuser
That's
currently.
right.
So either in this type of situation, somebody is lying. No, the mere fact to
Well,
me, the fact to me that Greenwood is not was not found guilty, charges was dropped, suggests to me at the moment, and it might not be true, but it suggests to me that the accuser was lying. So
well, not
I don't
necessarily.
know.
It could be that he did commit the act. However,
Oh,
the accuser doesn't want to go forward with pressing charges. To
no,
me,
no, no.
that's more of a likely
No,
situation.
that's what I'm saying. I'm saying, it's possible. It's possible that, he is definitely guilty. But at the moment, I would lean towards not being guilty. The fact that, no charges were dropped and he's in a relationship with the individual. So I
And
don't know.
from a legal point of view, he's an innocent man. From a legal court system point of view, he's an innocent man.
But
However, as you said, the court of
the
public
court of
opinion may
public
see things
opinion
differently.
has found him guilty. But if there's a number of cases in football where things like this happen, and a lot of the football players, court of public opinion finds them guilty,
But
only
I
for
mean,
them
even
to
now
be
we are hearing of a EPL player being embroiled in a situation of that nature. His name has yet to be released. However, so we still await what goes on. I
there.
mean,
I mean, there's also a midfielder in one of the top four teams that's under investigation. But if you go back a couple of years, you remember Mendy, who was playing for Man
right?
City,
Yeah, exactly.
he has been found innocent.
Innocent, and he's now suing Man City for all those missed payments of
Well,
his salary for millions.
he already sued them. He won. He won
Right,
that case. So
exactly. Because you're innocent until proven guilty.
Correct, correct, correct.
You're innocent until proven guilty. But such are these things. Such is life. Such is the social media and the sort of attention these things garner. But as you say, the future is unknown. So even with these long contracts, things can go either way. It could be a genius move, and on the other hand, it could be a calamitous failure where a non-performing player is locked into a massive contract over a number of years. Injuries is also a possibility, but uh, I'm not sure if Chelsea is showing the way in terms of model where we may see star players in particular getting these very long contracts and possibly some sort of performance incentive being embedded in these contracts, Sir Cole. So that could possibly be part of the Haaland contract, possibly winning the Golden Boot, for example. You may get a what? A 2, 5, 6, $7 million bonus, winning the top goal scorer in the Champions League, that sort of thing. So if that's the
But I
motivation
mean,
of some players,
to
then
be honest, after a point, money isn't the motivating factor because these guys are already have money, have a lot of money. So another 2 million, 3 million, throwing add on, I really don't think is enough to get them working harder. The motivation I think is more from within, it's more intrinsic, as opposed to then get a carrot for them to work towards.
indeed, that may very well be the case. But in terms of your scoreline, Sir Cole, what says you for this game? What's your scoreline?
Um, I'm taking Man City by 2 goals to 1.
Man City 2-1. Christoph, what says you?
I think Chelsea 3-1 to win.
Chelsea 3-1. I'm gonna sit on the fence, to be honest. I'm gonna go draw. I'm gonna go 1-1 draw. I feel both teams will score. Both teams not playing well, to be honest. Neither team I'm looking for any standout performances. So I'm just gonna sit on the fence for this one and say it should be a scoring draw. So I'm gonna go 1-1 in that game. But a number of other games are on, Sir Cole. We're just gonna quickly run through them. Give us your quick prediction as to how you see these games going. Bournemouth versus Forest, Sir Cole. Bournemouth
No,
at
this
home versus Forest.
No, this I think is a very enticing game where two teams towards the upper end of the table come head to head. What they lack is the name, but in terms of the performances this season, they are both quite right up there. Personally, I'm going with Forest. Forest has shown me that yes, they have the defensive ability, they have the attack, and I will give them the edge in this one.
So you're gonna go 2-0 Forest then.
I'll go 2-0 Forest. Yes, I agree with that.
2-0 Forest. What says you,
2-0 Forest.
Christoph?
I think that
Bournemouth
sounds
versus
like a
Forest.
that sounds like a fair result at the moment to me. I think Forest is, we said they're playing well and momentum is going to continue carrying them for the time being.
I'm gonna go 1-1 draw, to be honest with you. Bournemouth have this tenacity to score, whether it be from the penalty spot or from open play, and they picked up a massive result last game week versus Newcastle. Totally played Newcastle off the park in running away big victors. Clivert, uh, famous father, Christoph, one of your favorite players, if I recall back in the day.
Oh,
Clivert,
Justin Clivert.
Justin Clivert. And his
Yeah,
son is now doing the business for
I
Bournemouth.
I can't recall Patrick Clivert ever being my favorite player.
Well,
Not something I recall.
he was one of the big Dutch stars back in the 90s or early 2000s, I believe, Sir Cole. And his son
All right.
has come to the fore and is now getting the job done. So for me, I'm going to go with a draw. 1-1 draw in that one. Brighton versus Everton, Christoph. What says you? Brighton versus Everton.
Um, Brighton picked up the win over United last week. Everton also picked up a surprise win as well. I
Plus,
think
they have
the
a new coach in the form
new
of
coach
David
in
Moyes as well.
David Moyes.
Or old slash new coach, return of the
The return of the
Jedi.
uh, um,
New coach
I,
Bones.
I don't know about the new coach bounce for it because we did see where they did lose a couple of those starting games. I think at the moment, playing at home, I'll go with Brighton to win 2-1 at home.
What says you, Circle?
I'm taking a Brighton win as well. Spurs really is poor offensively.
Oh, Everton. No, Everton. Brighton faces
Everton,
Everton.
Brighton.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying Everton got the win over Spurs, true?
Okay, okay,
Yes.
right.
So I'm saying that playing against
Oh, Spurs.
Spurs, yes, they look that good. But
Mm,
for this game, I don't see them. I don't see them producing this kind of performance again. So I see
um,
them. I see them losing this one. Um, I call it again. 2 goals to 1.
I'm gonna go with a draw in this one, Circle. I think Davis Moyes had those boys working hard on the training ground, in all honesty, and I think they're going to Brighton to put up a stern defensive display. Brighton isn't the most prolific of teams themselves, and neither are they that defensively solid. So for me, I'm gonna call this one right down the middle. I'm gonna call this one as a draw. In fact, I might call it 1-1 draw, scoring draw. Both teams to score, sharing the goals. This one ending in a stalemate. Liverpool Ipswich Circle. Liverpool at home versus Ipswich.
Should I call a win for Ipswich?
Well,
Would you believe me?
the ball is round, Circle. The ball is indeed round, and you should be getting some great odds on a Ipswich win as
Well,
well.
my clairvoyance expert hasn't revealed anything in the crystal ball, so until such time, I go with a comfortable Liverpool win. Liverpool to win 4 goals to 0.
4 goals to 0. What says you, Christoph? Any upsets
Um,
on the horizon?
I'm not sure this would be an upset. They just got beaten 6-0 by, what we would consider a very poor Manchester City team at the moment. So I think Liverpool keep it going with a win. I don't know if it will be 4 or 5, but I think I would say, 2-0 to Liverpool, to be honest.
2-0 to Liverpool. All right. Southampton versus Newcastle, Circle. Southampton versus Newcastle.
Southampton defense has been very porous, not keeping much health at all. Newcastle was coming off a series of wins until they lost the last game, and I think they will shocked into, well, not shocked into, but they will return to winning ways this weekend. I say Newcastle 3-0.
Newcastle 3-0. Any discrepancies with that call, Krista?
No, not really. I think Newcastle returned to win it against Southampton.
Yeah, I think it should be a comfortable Newcastle win as well. That defeat should jolt them back into life. Maybe a bit of complacency was possibly creeping in, and they came up against a very good Bournemouth team who had a deserved victory over them. So I think Newcastle will be jolted back into life, and that hunger will return to the team. I just think Southampton can't compete man for man. Newcastle just has a better team, better personnel, better coach, a more gelled unit playing against relegation strugglers who is very defensively weak. When you look at the likes of a Bednarek, who is anchoring their defense, he is nothing to write home about, in all honesty, constantly making individual errors, especially when they try to play out from the back. And I think this will be another game where big mistakes are made around the back. And this Newcastle team, in the likes of a Isaac or a Garden, or even a Murray, will punish them and punish them more than once. So I'm looking at a big win for Newcastle, possibly 3 goals to nil in this one. Then we have Wolves versus Arsenal. Christoph, I'll come to you first on this one. Wolves at home versus Arsenal. What says you?
Um, I think it could be a tricky game for Arsenal. In the past, Wolves has been a bit of a bogey team for Arsenal. I think if they take their momentum from their midweek win and probably continue playing as they did midweek against Zagreb, I think Arsenal should win 2-0. But there is that potential for Wolves to pick up the points in this game, in
Wow.
my opinion.
You see, you don't seem too confident in that call, Christoph, even though you're calling it 2-0 for Arsenal.
Well, Arsenal have picked up a lot of injuries so far this season, and they did pick up another injury in Martin Skelly, and we know
But Zinchenko is
Zinchenko.
there, Christoph. I mean,
Z-
Zinchenko, the big baller,
Z-
squad
Zinchenko,
depth.
Zinchenko is not the best defensively, and we
Yeah, but I
did
mean,
see.
against a weak Wolves team, I
Uh,
mean, with Cunha head being turned as well by
I,
Nottingham Forest.
well, to
I
my
mean,
knowledge,
or even
Cunha.
Arsenal. I'm hearing Arsenal is even interested.
Well, I don't. I try not to speculate on transfer rumors when it comes to Arsenal. Too much heartbreak there. Um, but I don't know. It's tricky. People might look and say Arsenal did well against Zagreb, but really and truly, Zagreb really didn't play anything. So I
So 2-0
personally,
to the Arsenal then. The long and short of it, Arsenal to win 2-0.
I think Arsenal win 2-0, but Wolves have the potential to pick up those
All
points.
right, say less, say less. What says you, Circle? Do you disagree with that scoreline, or are you in agreement with the Arsenal win?
I'm in agreement with a close Arsenal win. I don't think it will be very comfortable. I think Wolves will trouble the Arsenal defense and may even score. I really don't see it very high scoring. Probably at Arsenal two goes to one, and
Two goals to
a
one.
comfortable 2-1.
What
Yes,
says you about Crystal Palace, Brentford?
Crystal Palace, Brentford. What was the venue for that game? Very important.
Crystal Palace at home, of course.
Palace at home. Then
Yeah,
I go
this
with
could be classified as a mini London derby, so to speak, two London teams.
I go with the Palace win. There has been a slight resurgence of Palace. We know that Brentford tends to not play as well when they play away from home for some reason. So I'm thinking that that Palace should be able to come out victors on this one.
And then Christoph, Spurs, Leicester. Spurs at home versus Leicester.
Two teams who are not in the very best of form. Leicester has been, far more horrible than Spurs. It's a game where Spurs should really be picking up the win. Um, good chance for them to bounce back and build some confidence. But I think potentially this could be a drawn game. So I'd go with like Spurs to win 2-1 or a 1-1 draw, in my opinion, for this
Spurs
one.
to win 2-1 or a 1-1 draw. I think this should be an easy routine Spurs win, in all honesty. I think they will blow Leicester out of the park. At least 3 goals to nil, I would say. And then the final game on the agenda, Aston Villa versus West Ham. For me, this is a no-brainer circle. Aston Villa to win at home versus West Ham. So for me, Villa possibly winning 2 goals to 1 in that game. That's my call for that one. Leon Bailey should come up with a goal in this one circle. He has been getting some minutes in the last couple of games, and I am anticipating that he will trouble the back of the net in this one. So the Jamaican Leon Bailey to kick in a goal in this one, which should lead to a Aston Villa win. But Sir
Question.
Cole, any quick final thoughts?
Yeah, does the West Ham also have a new coach?
West
Yes.
Ham also has a new coach. That's right. Potter, Graham Potter, former Chelsea man,
So,
former Brighton man.
so are they exempt from getting the new manager
Well, I,
bounce?
I think the new manager bounce have somewhat worn off on Potter already, in all honesty. He did pick up a win, but lost. So I think his farm or the farm of the team has been rather indifferent under Potter as a coach. So I think it goes back to normalcy, playing away from home. I think Aston Villa is a superior team, so I expect Aston Villa to win. But
I
Christoph,
think
any quick final thoughts from you? We're quickly running out of time, less than a minute to go.
Interesting set of fixtures on the weekend and potentially, well, I highly doubt there'll be a lot of surprises, but Man City Chelsea is probably the game most viewers will be taking a look at. I expect Chelsea to win, if they're playing sensibly. Use that energy.
Final word from your Sir Cole.
uh, just to close off, I think West Ham will see the upset over Villa for this
Mm,
weekend. That's my upset card for
okay.
the weekend.
Upset call. So you're going with a West Ham then, Sir
I'm
Cole.
going, I'm going with a West Ham win.
All right, we'll definitely be here to see how that one plays out. And since you made that call, Circle, going against what my call, then that will be a game of keen interest that I will be paying attention to. But viewers and subscribers, thank you for tuning in to us here on Beating the Press podcast. Christoph Circle, thanks again for passing through and sharing your thoughts and your opinions. Please continue to help us to grow viewers and subscribers by leaving a comment, hitting that like button. And if you haven't subscribed as yet, hit that subscription bell. But until next time, this is Rafa signing off.